Hi, this is Exorcist, a show where I take a look at some gunpla and see how authentic they are. This time we are looking at MS-06F Zaku 2 Solari's unit. This Zaku 2 looks different from other Zakus that we have been looking at because it is from Requiem for Vengeance, a show shot entirely in Unreal Engine, and it was part of Bandai's plan to bring in some more Western production team to create a more Western mainstream version of Gundam. Yamane Kimitoshi is the head mechanical designer for the project, although he is not as hands-on as he have been with other Gundam projects. For this one, as most of the production is handled by Safe House, who use Unreal Engine and build all the 3D models. Yamane's input is mostly concept drawings or other details that Safe House isn't too sure with, but for the most part, Yamane let Safe House make the mobile suit in Requiem for Vengeance that is suitable for the Unreal Engine and the physics in it. I will make a separate video comparing this to other Zaku 2s for their style, and spoiler alert, it is actually not that different. As for the rating of this kit, we'll be using Saga. Style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style is how much does the gunpla resemble its counterparts in the anime, manga, games, or other media. Requiem for Vengeance is a streaming series, and because they do use actual 3D models in the filming, so you got exactly what you have in there. And you may notice this look quite different from the promotional pictures. That is because we have a massive decal sheet giving a lot of otherwise not too laborious but definitely a bit of effort involved sort of weatherings and other markings to be painted. So this is not the first time Bandai did this. They did this with the Nuance Island Zakus. So this is not too different from that. Anyways, by itself, I think it is pretty good. Color separations and the sculpts are pretty good, as you will see more when we get closer. But yeah, it is actually quite crazy how this is just 4 colors. Starting from the head, it is definitely a Zaku head. People do talk about how it has 2 antennas, and this is not a new original. There are rabbit ears Zaku in the MSV days, straight from Okawara. Again, we can do that comparison when we got those gunpla. And I don't know if you can see the mono eye. It does have very fine sculpture on it, like a Y shape. The sticker works better than I think it would, but I'm probably going to paint it with metallic next time. Down to the chest, we do still get the chest plate, the T-shaped chest plate, and 3 segment isn't too different from a typical Zaku design, but not these supposedly mechanical parts. But again, I will compare those in a dedicated video. For this video, we are just going to look at the details. Yeah, I basically just go ham with the panel liner because there are a lot of details to be picked up. Construction is complicated and simple at the same time. There are lots of clamshell in here, but they overlap with each other, so you don't really see the seam line. So they look natural for the most part. At least for the skirts, it is interesting that they opt for a one piece in the front here. It is kinda old school to do that. They forgo that in Gundam the Origin, and I'm happy to see they come back to it in Requiem for Vengeance. I also like the reinforced look on the end of the skirt. Definitely give Solari Zaku a bit more wear and tear, like it have seen combat and being repaired from it. As for the thigh, it is a 4-piece construction. The back, the front, and then 2 sides. You can see the seam line here, and they have a decorative sculpt. It is fine on the thigh with 4 pieces, but we'll see other places where this technique is less fine. The knee actually have quite a bit of sculpture. Again, borrow heavily or develop heavily from the origin series, although I do think they did it a lot better here. And you will also notice the pulse transmission cable on the leg. Instead of one loop going to both sides, it actually have a solid connector for the knee. Again, I really want to talk about a lot of this design going back to Okawara, but let's focus on the kit here. So yeah, we have this going on. It follows the leg and the knee pretty well. And then we have pretty typical these days, shin on the front and then 2 sides for the calves. The decorative seam is pretty natural on here, so that is good, unlike the origin versions. And you can note a grenade launcher here. It is attached on a not quite 3mm port, but you can modify that. The foot is interesting. Instead of having the top of the foot coming off the foot itself, it is actually part of the lower leg. There is a rabbit hole on this. There is definitely a rabbit hole in this, but it is mostly the regular Zaku look, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. Just admire all the sculpt work on all the panels. The feet themselves, simple 2-piece, the khaki top part and the white sandy shoe part. They do have a asymmetrical sculpt, part of the probably repairs that Solari have to go through with her Zaku. I like that. As for the bottom of the feet, we got pretty awesome sculpt as well. There is quite a bit of holo. I suspect it is something to do with the modified versions, but I will have to build those to confirm. For now, this kind of holo is fine. I do always find it kind of weird that we have to have full contact on the bottom of Zaku's foot. But yeah, you can either leave it as is because it is bottom of the foot, or you can follow the design here to fill them in. The arms overall pretty typical of Zaku, except again a lot more sculpt all around. The shield and the shoulder armor we'll take a look in a minute. Let's just focus on the forearm for now. We have a separate piece for the wrist and then the elbow. Here's what I mean by the decorative theme isn't helping. I mean, they have a separate RAM base here. I'm not sure why can't they just do a front back clamshell, but I may just be biased towards the Zaku 2 FZ and F2. The hands, just like the rest of this Zaku 2, has a lot of sculpt on it. On the back, you can see the elbow guard, the fan brace, pretty, just a lot of sculpts all around. Back skirts, pretty complicated back skirts for a Zaku, and here's a slot for attachment that we'll talk about in Gimmick. Backpack is pretty small, but it is quite Okawara-esque, if you ask me. So that's a plus from me. I like the way this spike shoulder pads construction. You can probably see the seam line here. So the middle piece is one, and then the two side of the faces. The spike being prism, that's fine. I just like how this free piece doesn't have a ugly seam down in the middle. The free seam just looks a lot more natural compared to the one seam. There's also a little bit of a shock pad for Zaku's arm here. That is a neat detail. As for the shield, it is a very heavily modified Red Wolf special. We are going to save this for weapons. I mean, Gimmick. So despite the initial reaction towards the Requiem for Vengeance or Solari Zaku is what the heck is this? It grow on people. And this kit replicates quite well, even without all the extra stickers for the paint job. God, I have so much to say about the marketing surrounding this thing. But yeah, we'll leave that in absence. For style, I think this deserves a full mark, because all I did was panel lining. Like literally just a watercoloring plan and just go ham on it and just rub off what would be rub off. Easy as. Next is action. Action isn't just the number of articulations, but also how useful these articulations are. For Solari Zaku, the head is on a ball joint. It is a newer design of hard plastic, but the principle is pretty old school. It have a pivot at the bottom of the neck, and top of it is a ball. You can also move the mono eye or the mono eye track with a tab underneath the head, but yeah, you pretty much have to disassemble Solari Zaku to get access to it. Actually, we can see it here, kinda, right down there. So yeah, pretty good head articulations. The torso, it looks like this is like the origin versions where it is 3 segment, but it is actually not. They just have butterfly joints for the shoulders, or the internal of the shoulders. It's not much internal there either, but for most angles it is good enough, like unless you're really looking. And then we got crunch, but not actually from the midsection. It's actually a internal piece inside the abdomen. The abdomen itself is solid, locked into the chest. That's just for the pivots, and then we got a ball to the waist. Interestingly enough, we have a RG-esque, if I can access it. We have a RG-esque skirt or pelvis front joint, basically for more natural skirt movement and a bit more room for the ab crunch. And then side skirt is on a pivot, just going up. This is quite good for a Zaku. Back skirt is solid, and then they hide pretty well. The thigh have a dropping joint like Scope Dog. Well, Scope Dog with a swivel. This is like Zaku 2 FC, but it is independent on both sides. It is mostly coming out from the Origin series, I guess. And then we have a Neo era 2-stage 5 joint. This part is like the Lenza from Witch From Mercury. Then for the knee movement, not quite 180, 150-ish. Expose all the knee. You can see there is a lot of sculpts in the inside of the knee, and then even more mechanisms sculpture here and there. Like, of course, this design is stemmed from the Origin series, but in the Origin series they kind of do it not really as a feature, more as a suggestion. Here it is definitely a feature. The foot we had looked a little bit before. It's actually a ball joint and then a double swivel, so that you can really pull it out. But yeah, not a lot of front kick, despite how much it is built into that joint. I guess it makes the kneeling pose a bit more natural. We have a more flat surface here, but yeah, otherwise good, but kinda pointless. Back up to the arms. The shoulder pads has a independent ball, much like the Origin. Bicep swivel, and then a double elbow joint. Theoretically 180 degree almost, although the shoulder armor would surely block it. And then hand on a ball joint. The waist part is not movable, just decorative color separation. The elbow joint is like the knee joint, pretty well sculpted. The shield is on a ball joint, and then there's actually swivel from this spider clamp construction. The shoulder is on a swivel to go outward, but the armor design kind of limited to, what is this, 70, 60 degrees. Not too bad. It is enough for typical firing position. So yeah, let's see how Solari Zaku Kung Fu fights. I suspect it's actually pretty, yep. It is a pretty dense piece, as quite a lot of modern kits where with all the overlapping clamshells. Yeah, there's just more plastic on the model, so it's heavier, more stable. And this thing is also super rigid with its, like, it would wear out over time, but at the moment, let's see if I can do it again. Oh, I think I have to put the machine gun down. Yeah, at the moment, it can break dance on the shield. That's how tight or how well tuned the hard plastic joints, at least from on a fresh build. Once you mess it with it a bit more, it would wear out, but you can easily fix it with a bit of PVA glue, so I wouldn't lose sleep over it. There are reports of people breaking the ball joints, which has always been a risk. I guess it is because we got a lot more new builders. They are not quite used to how Gunpla works, so it's easy for them to have a bad leverage pretty much and break the ball joints. When if they get closer to the joint, it would have been fine. I don't know, like on one hand, it's Bandai's responsible to tell people to be more careful about posing, but on another hand, these are model kits, not quite action figures, so people should be a bit more gentle with them. Either way, action is great. No action for the backpack, but yeah, otherwise, can Kung Fu fight, can breakdance, strike ass, no question. Next is Gimmick. Gimmick are the onboard weapons, optional weapons, and other functionality of the mobile suit. For the Solari Zaku, I guess the design itself is a gimmick, and it is excellent. We had a bit of look at the grenade launcher on the leg. It is just a one molded piece, stick on the side. I think it's completely fine for a little auxiliary system like this. It is usually loaded with spoke or anti-infantry rounds, so not a major weapon. It's fine that it is only a one piece with quite a bit of detail, more than enough, I would say. As for the shield, there is a lot of sculpts on the back of the shield. There's even an extra handle that Solari can use the arm, Zaku's arm, to grab onto it, so the shield is more rigid. This shield design or attachment design is pretty solid. Maybe until the ball worn out, but so far so good. They have shown in the show that the Red Wolf team would plant the shield onto the ground, and these are basically planks, sort of. These guns are to loosen up the ground so that the spike can go in easier. Probably good against infantry too. But against mobile suits, the shield itself is probably a better weapon than the spikes. As for the Zaku machine gun, it is very much standard Zaku machine gun design, or the later ones where they start adding iron sights on it. Yeah, otherwise just a well-scoped Zaku machine gun with the with a foldable front grip that is very well sculpted. The pen magazine is just the top being a separate piece, but the effect is good. And then the optic can move a little bit of the way. No sticker for it, but I guess it's fine for a modern day sort of realistic version of the Zaku machine gun. Surprisingly not liking a overextended grip. It really wants it to be more natural. I think I'm supposed to part the hand for a full grip here. But yeah, you can have a more relaxed palm hand that you can just kind of slide on if you want. And I have a standard hammer grip here, trigger finger for this one. And I have a standard hammer grip here because I want to show the hit hawk. Whoops. The hit hawk, like the rest of Solari Zaku, is very, very just sculptures everywhere. Sculpts everywhere. Yep, ever since the Zaku 1, we have made strides. The hit hawk into the two-part hand doesn't get so loose these days, which is cool. I feel like this big type of hit hawk is for melee specialists, but again, the Red Wolf team is sort of a specialized paratrooper team with standard Zaku, so I guess they get a pass for slightly more special equipment. And while it doesn't have a pick to store on the side skirts, we do have this hanger for the back skirts. You can either hang the Zaku machine gun here, or you can hang the hit hawk here. So that's a cool attachment. And we have another hammer grip hand on the right hand if you want that. We also get a stand clamp, so instead of a 3mm hole at the bottom of Solari Zaku, we have a clamp that attached to the bottom of it. It's good for the stand, but not good if you are using it for your builder equipment, because the whole thing might drop, because this clamp is just friction and gravity when you have the Zaku on top of it. If you have the builder parts on it and they are not clamping on the rest of the Zaku, it might drop. But that's not what this kit is designed for. This kit is designed to be more like traditional, detailed, accurate, realistic military models. So yeah, that's very realistic gimmicks, I would say. Having said that, even though the shield is a major weapon here, the Zaku machine gun is excellently sculpted and built, and I do like the hit hawk. The holster for the hit hawk or the Zaku machine gun, you can hang the Zaku machine gun here, is a bit too simple compared to everything else. So between the number of weapons, yeah, sure, we got a handle on the shield, but Federation always have that. Yeah, I would just give it an A for Gimmick, seeing it already got very high score from style and action. Last and definitely not least is absence. Absence are what should be decided or left to be decided on the kit. And truth to be told, after building this kit, playing around with it, I would say there's not much absence. But there's definitely an absence in Bandai's marketing. Bandai typically is not afraid to show their model kits as straight built, or even, with all the stickers on it. Bandai usually don't shy away from this, but for Solari Zaku or the rest of the Requiem for Vengeance kits, they are really scared of showing a straight build of any of them. Sure, without panel lighting, this would look less than half as good, I would say. But show one with minimal panel lighting, that would work. I don't know why Bandai doesn't market it. Bandai also does not market the butterfly joint or this front skirt gimmick like they would have usually, or the new way of post transmission cable builds. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Bandai is not as vigorous as they usually are about the marketing of these kits, especially for a traditional military model market. Like traditional realistic military models expect you to paint the whole thing and add on the brass etchings, etc. So Solari Zaku or the rest of the Requiem for Vengeance kits looking as good as this is a big selling point. I'm not sure why they're not showing this to people. Like seriously, after I built it, I'm like, yeah, I should definitely tell people the Requiem for Vengeance kits look great with just panel lining, or I have a bit more of these guys in the backlog, so maybe I will build ones with no panel lighting just to prove the point. But, that's another video. For now, this is Solari Zaku MS06F from the Red Roof team, and the verdict for it is S for style, S for action, A for gimmick, and A for absence. Overall, you win some, you lose some. Comparing the Gundam, the origin kits, and say Witch From Mercury kits. This is definitely a kit in between, and it is 90% best of both worlds. I would say there are some the origin legacy left in here that is holding it back, namely the fallout. I know we're probably not going to get an update of these guys soon, but if Safe House get to do another Gundam project, when Bandai make kits for those, they should probably follow the Witch from Mercury model architecture. As for this kit itself, it is excellent. Kinda sad that they don't sell the rest of the Red Wolf team on regular release, at least for now. So you either paint it up or you do some of your own kit bashing to make it less Solaris if you want multiple copies. Thanks for watching. See you next time.